So I have been caught up watching Welcome to the this past week. But let me assure you, Pennywise is not the only trending clown right now in our internet space. Yeah?
Hello, and welcome to a new series that I will be calling the Danish Deception. I'm going to be going through the details and events that happened throughout my 3-year relationship with a man from Denmark who I truly believed was going to be the love of my life and the father of my children. What you guys are about to hear is going to be one of the most beautiful love stories you've ever heard in your entire life.
Welcome back to my channel. My name is King. Please subscribe, like, leave your thoughts below, and tell me what you thought about the point of my commentary. Yeah, there's no point like rehashing certain aspects of her story because it's already been said all over the interweb. But I just feel like I want to give my own perspective as a Nigerian that kind of feels like an alien that exists in a woman's body. I kind of want to address the underlying this is underlying framework from which of Onyeka operate. I hope she no longer operates from there, but the underlying framework Onyeka operates upon or operates within. Yeah, preposition, please stop. So Onyeka is at this point a Nigerian American. Yeah, she probably had most of her schooling and education, abroad. And even amongst the Nigerian community in America, a lot of women, people basically, they came out to say no, no, that's not how we do things in Nigeria. Even if you were born abroad, like Nigerians and Nigerian women, and relationships in general, like it's very, very transactional. And as women, you're not expected to contribute to your upkeep or to the family or to the house. I mean, financial wise, yeah, not just, but every other thing you're going to do it. You're going to you carry the burden of that aspect of the relationship as a Nigerian woman. And I think there's even discourse here. Like everybody knows that Nigerian women standards are high, because of how they are very, very explicit about a man taking care of them. And it's like a joke, even some men, Nigerian men will be like, oh, if you date other African women, it's so easy. When Nigerian woman, hey, she will give you hell, this, that, this, and it's like, when a man starts to say that about a woman, you know that there's some bullshit. That's not where I'm coming from. I want to approach it like I want to approach it from the aspect of being a Nigerian girl child and being raised to become a woman, and how that will definitely lead you to become an Onyeka. People say things, people were just like bashing her, which rightfully so. She has the privilege of being from a very wealthy family, and for the man to scam her that amount of money, almost, she's not middle class. Yeah, in Nigerian standard, on Nigerian standards, you're not middle class. Yeah, she's up there amongst like Nigerian society. Yeah. It's probably why she has such views that if you're coming to the village, they're going to rob you. Like, shut the fuck up. Shut. There's also this view, this stupid fucking ignorant view that she said, like, and he told me that I'm in Nigeria, I'm being scammed by a European. Like, how, whatever she said, she was trying to make it out that, wow, it's so ironic that me in Nigeria, that Nigeria is always known for scamming. And it's like, shut up, mama. So I'm not going to address Onyeka like or her story or whatever it is. Cis hetero relationships is what I'm talking about. But cis hetero relationships in the context of being a Nigerian woman, being a Nigerian girl. Okay. For my side, where I live, where I'm from in Nigeria, yeah, it is demonized. Yeah, as a girl, you are not to have sexual relationships even before marriage. The funny thing about that whole situation is just like we hear that from our parents. We are bombarded with religious like stories and movies and teachings that women should not have sex with men, girls should not have sex with boys before marriage. We are bombarded with that, and then we now turn on the TV and we have to watch American teenagers live a life of excess. It was just a very weird place to be. We see shows life of the American teenager, this whole raving thing as a young teenage girl, By 14, 15, 16, you should have had your first kiss, you should have had sex, even though those girls, when they eventually have sex, they are being slut shamed by the entire school and ostracized. So, like, it's not like girls in this world or women in this world are put through the ringer. I just wanted to say that we are bombarded by this information, this propaganda, by American media, Western media, not just American, European, like Western media in general. I feel like Onyeka said she was saying something that like she's not been in a relationship for a very long time, which is actually very normal. Like it's supposed to be the run of the mill experience for a Nigerian lady. Yeah, you're not supposed to have any sort of relationships. You're supposed to just grow up, keep your virginity, keep your respectability intact, and then one day a man is going to fall from the sky and marry you. Basically, that's just what it is. And so, we had aspirations. Like there were aspirations, yeah. That I'm going to fall in love. I'm going to have my first kiss if I want true love in secondary school, even though I was operating and I was carrying this strong belief that if a boy touched me wrongly, I was going to get pregnant. Like I still had this whole confused desire to have my first kiss, like the Disney Channel actors and characters. Yeah. So basically, I want to just start speaking for myself from now. That was the whole contradictory mess I lived in. Okay, in my real life, I was going to church. I was listening to sermons that told me that sexual sin is the ultimate debasement of your soul. That if you had sex, the devil would come in and you'll never be free. And once you have sex, you have to always keep having sex. Oh, I don't even know where I got that thing from, but I'm sure it's from a religious teaching. Like one of the sermons in church. Like if I have sex once, I'm going to have sex, like a tax that I have to pay. And that scared me clean off. I literally, no. Like, fear was the ruling like force in my life. And that ended up making me a role model for my parents, like to other children. Like people used me as role model. My parents proudly boasted about me and my virtues. They didn't really talk about my virginity like that, but there was this implicit knowledge that of course king does not go out. Of course king is not social. Of course king does not have a boyfriend. Let's talk about the other practical aspect of being a woman is that from a very young age, I'm talking about like from 4, 5, 6, your mother's duty is to start to train you how to be in the kitchen, how to be responsible for the entire household, how to be a woman. They call it being a woman. You have to learn how to go to the market. You have to learn how to source for ingredients, groceries. Yeah, we don't have centralized markets like those big Walmart or Target or whatever the hell those like Americans use. We have open air markets, and those markets are torture for if you are sensitive, if you have any form of neurodivergence, going to the market to buy food stuff on the weekends or during the week or at the behest of your mother was hell. But as a woman, if you dare express any form of objection or disturbance about it, you were labeled problematic, you were labeled spoiled. Okay, in Nigeria, as a girl growing up, the worst thing you can be labeled is sport. Sport means you are selfish. You cannot go on errands. It's not about not wanting to go on errands, but you cannot just go on errands. Yeah, which was my case. Like, and what you didn't know how to cook. Yeah, a lot of men that Nigerian men express value of a woman through her ability to cook, her ability to clean, and her ability to be a mother, to be a daughter-in-law, and all of that. So for you to be the perfect daughter-in-law, you start getting training from when you are like 4, 5, 6. The thing that I want to bring out is just that Onyeka might have been scammed, thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, yeah. And she might have not even been able to recognize what actually went down in that relationship, because to her that is one of the challenges of being married. Yeah, Nigerian woman, you should not shirk your duties to your husband, even though you were literally deceived into a relationship. He knew fully well that he was an addict. Yeah, he was a guy. Let's just believe the addiction story. Yeah. He knew fully well that he was an addict with years and years of like unsuccessful therapy, and yet he did not divulge that information before they got married. Yeah? Because Onyeka has been sheltered all her life, both from the harsh realities of, the country that she's from, and from the harsh realities that money can protect her within a country like America. And then the whole Nigerian woman background saying, you only give yourself to your husband, and then give yourself to your husband. That is a stealing act, more or less. All of that is what culminated in her being caught up in this bubble of deception and willful delusion. Yeah. And when Onyeka fell into the habit of providing money for her husband, let me tell you something. As much as there are a lot of Nigerians screaming and throwing up and saying, "Oh, Nigerian men don't give men money," well, the reality is very um it's not exactly so, because in Nigeria, a lot of the households, that are nuclear households here in this country are being upheld both financially, mentally, emotionally by the wife. Okay, some men fall on hard times and they just give up, yeah, and then their wife has to cover up for them. There's something called like covering up the shame of the family, yeah, and so the woman has to carry it on her head to be the provider and then ascribe all the credit to the man. So when they're in public settings, people will believe that the man is the provider, and in private, the man is going to. In private, the story is not. It's not so. Yeah, the woman ends up like footing the bills for her children's education, her children's upkeep, the household of upkeep, and then when even and it's supposed to still be seen as this thing of pride that at least like you took care of your marriage, you are married, you're not a divorcee, like you're not a shameful woman, you're not being cast out by a husband. Because there's another horrible thing that is a trend here that if your husband kicks you out of the home as a Nigerian woman, you're not going back to your father's house. And I know a lot of people have supportive parents or whatever, but the reality is also for a lot of average families, like even the ones that are very wealthy, like the stories I've heard, horror stories I've heard, her parents are going to tell this woman to go back to her useless husband to beg him to take her, to apologize, even if it's something that the woman does not have the faintest clue of whatever she did wrong to this man that caused her to be thrown out. A thing of pride, sort of, that you're able to help your husband in hard times as a Nigerian woman, as long as you're married, you have ascended. Okay, they've ascended. Like a woman that is younger than me, that is married, has more social standing than I do. She has more say. She can speak on matters. She can speak on issues simply because she has a husband. Simply because she has given birth to children. She has more presence in society, and she's afforded more respect in society than me, that may be older than her, and I have no children, I have no husband, and all of that. Yeah, and so you are kind of not infantilized if you're not married, but you're kind of placed in this box of juveniles, like you are being willfully childish, because you don't want to do your duty and get married. I feel like Onyeka is a perfect representation of a Nigerian woman. As much as Nigerian women online are like screaming and bashing at her, I understand foreign, like Black African American women like calling her out because she is American, yeah. But as for the Nigerian aspect, she's actually the run of the mill woman. To be honest, she's very run of the mill. What's not run of the mill about her is that she got divorced. And you see that at the end of the day, for her to wake up to the idea of getting a divorce was because the man forcefully left her, despite her pleadings, the man left her. She was still bargaining with him, telling him, saying things like gambling addiction is a sickness, a mental illness, and sometimes they cannot regulate their emotion, like making excuses for him, using the sickness as a crutch for why she felt the need to persist in the relationship, in the marriage. Meanwhile, that was not the real reason. She knew why she wanted to persist. And beyond the racial conversations about that, yeah, there's also the conversation that how was she going to face her cousins in the village? How was she going to face her family in the village that, oh, you're a divorcee? It's going to go around, okay? It is going to go around. She's going to be branded in some sort of way, and it's not this like witch hunting, like active branding stuff, but like it will be there. They'll say, "Oh, you don't know this person again. She don't divorce for 3 years, child." Now, and it doesn't. They last. Not this young girls of mine. They last for marriage. Meanwhile, this woman did her best Very stupid, very delusional, but she did her best. She did her best because that was the training she was brought up with. That's Nigeria that her parents carried for her over to that place. You get, and then also there's this thing of cis hetero norms, yeah. Like Nigerians don't recognize anything outside. When I say Nigerians, I'm just speaking about the whole collective, yeah, and the values they tend to push outward into the world is that we don't believe in anything outside of the cis het norm. Okay, even to even recognize themselves as cis het is difficult. They're like, what is that? That is a label. That is not. We are the normal. We are the ordinary. We are the regular people. Yeah, and they back it up with religious bigotry, religious fanaticism, homophobia, criminalization of anybody that's outside the cis het box. Yeah, and there's like literal lynchings of people that present even like if you just show a whiff of being LGBTQ plus IA, you are lynched. If you are in a setting that you have no sort of social or economic protection, you will be lynched. Yeah. Forget Bobrisky. Bobrisky is an exception to the rule, and that is another thing about Nigerian, the fate of Nigerian wives, women that are Nigerian that are married, is that it doesn't matter the class of society you belong to. Yeah, you are going to suffer the same things. I mean, this woman, Tiwa Savage, how many years ago, nearly a decade now or more than, she came forward to talk about her husband and her husband. She had to do that. She could have just walked away from that man. And this is still somebody that grew up abroad also. That's also in Nigeria and America, more or less. Like she literally lived her whole life in America and then she came back to start her career. Although she already had a career in growing in America, yeah, but she came back to Nigeria and then she got entangled with a Nigerian man and she got married, and her Nigerian home training that was imbibed through generations up to her mother and down to her came forth. This man was abusing her, according to her stories, allegedly, yeah, was abusing her, but she could not walk away like that. As a figurehead, as a celebrity, like a prominent female figure, you kind of need to take permission from the general public to walk away from your husband, no matter how shitty he is. You can't just walk away and be like, I'm walking away from him. I don't explain myself to anybody. No, you will explain yourself to people. And I feel like that's also where Onyeka came from. This making up of this story. She's saying something like, oh, I want to be like I want to tell you like Risa Tisa. No, it's not Risa Tisa that is coming up. Is this need to explain herself, for being husbandless, for being a divorcee at her age, if it's not that, although widows in this country are disparate and, treated like bottom barrel second class citizens, in fact fifth class citizens, yeah, even though they could not control their husband dying, which is contestable in Nigerian superstitious belief. If a woman's husband dies early, she's front and center of the first line of fire. Yeah, it's a thing. Nigeria. Tiwa Savage had to come forward and explain herself to her public, to the public, even the ones that were not her fans. You have to come and explain yourself because they feel as if, I'm sure she was feeling as if Nigerians gave her an audience, Nigerians, listened to her music, bought into her artistry and her hype and, made her a success, that kind of thing. So for the success that she was giving, she needs to be a standard of womanhood for Nigerian women. So you cannot just walk out away from your husband, you have, and this woman sat down and recorded. She looked so distraught, she looked so out of it, but she had to explain herself. And she explained and explained and explained and explained and explained and still explained herself. She was not giving a pass. Yeah, she was just like, they're just like, oh, okay, that's all, okay. And then she separated from this man. I don't know if they are divorced yet. It's kind of wonky my memory. That's just it. So like this treatment of women that are wives in this country, Nigerian women wives or Nigerian wives, is the same across board. Doesn't matter how rich you are. Your husband, look at Regina Daniels. Okay, Regina Daniels is a very, very controversial case, yeah. But I don't know, this is a public figure. She married a very rich man, and look at all the old factors that have been met. She married a man, and she was so proud of him, and she was boasting about him online, and she was saying things that were even against her. They're supposed to be against her core values as a woman, first and foremost. And despite all of that, she still had to come forward and cry to the public and beg, to be freed from this marriage. Not talking about the fact of being right or wrong here, but she cannot just privately walk away from her husband. She can't. And if it had not blown up in that way, if she had decided to privately walk away from her husband, the husband would have made a spectacle of it. I believe that. Like, I just my opinion. At the end of this, my opinion. But at the end of the day, like, most women in the public eye, and now the women that are now in the public eye that are under a lot of scrutiny are women that are married to pastors, women that are in religious connections, they come out and they lie on behalf of their husband. They lie, they tell you that the thing was that the man is so perfect, it must be their fault. And I feel like for Onyeka to say, this is the greatest love story you've ever heard, it's still her following the conditioning that she was raised on upon. Like she was raised to always see her husband in the light because he did her a favor by marrying her. She's made a complete woman because she has been connected to a man, because she's joined to a man in marriage. There's the religious aspect falls down the girl child's throat. There's also the social aspect, cultural aspect, ethnic aspect falls down this girl child's throat. You are complete simply because you are married. You are a full, accomplished human being because you are married. Yeah. Like if you're not married, you never finish work. About the Danish deception slash delusion. You can look at it from your nothing really objective here, especially when it's a human being telling the story and people perception of the story. Nothing really, but we can look at it through a very broad subjective lens. And yeah, she was delusional. Yeah, she allowed herself to go through that, but like she's just one of the few that is a symptom of the problem of a group of people, Nigerian women. Okay, women raised in Nigeria, girl children raised in Nigeria to marry into, like, to get married to cis-het, to be in cis-het connections, to be in relationship with men. Okay, there's no conversation about woman, there's no conversation about trans man or trans woman. Everything is just a cis-het man joining with a cis-het woman. Okay, so she's just like a symptom. So it's just like to kind of like, as much as it's very funny to, like, it's not funny, well, it is kind of funny, but like for the Nigerian women in the group chats, screaming and throwing up that, oh, this girl is so foolish. Can you honestly look at the relationship that your mother had with your father and not recognize where in her lifetime she was being scammed by her husband, by your father? Can you honestly look back through your childhood and say it with your full chest, like 100%? And if you do, just know you're an exception to the rule. Can you say with your full chest that your mother was never, like, for a period of her existence, living as your father's wife? She was never scammed. And I'm not saying it to exempt, to make an excuse for Monica. I'm just saying it that it should be a call back to us as a people, to us as a group. Yeah. That a child, like when you take the girl child away from Nigeria to abroad, the parent, you as a parent, you have to also recognize the way you are carrying Nigeria with you to wherever you're traveling to, and you have to nip it in the bud. Yeah, even like, let's think about it. The opposite end of people are saying that for my life, I've never seen my mother give my dad money. Yeah, it might not be money, it might be reproductive abilities. Like, why was she forced to have children in so manner of time? Why is she forced to not have birth control? Yeah. Why is she forced to listen to her in-laws in this way? Why is her in-laws, she's not giving the man money, she's not giving her husband money, but she's giving her in-laws money. She's making sure her in-laws feel as if their son is not being matched, like his head is not being stomped upon by his wife. So she bows her head, she plays subservience, she plays servility to the in-laws to show that their son is being treated as a man. Is that not scammy? And remaining in that, is that not a kind of delusion? So I'm just saying it that as like it's not about money. Okay, I feel like the focus is so money, but there's this overarching philosophy of raising a woman, a girl to a woman in this country, and it's that any relationship you have with a man has to be transactional. Okay, that is the only way it will make sense to you to be this subservient, servile, non-human being to this man that is a full-fledged human being with interiority and complexities and flaws. Yeah. that overarching philosophy is that your connection to a man is transactional. We see it in the bride price, okay? You don't do that shit dowry here, man. You're gonna pay through your nose. You're gonna pay through your fucking nose. Yeah, and it seems as if it's such a you are dealing with the man. No, you are not. No, you are not. Because no matter how much that man pays for your right to be his wife, let me tell you, you're just exchanging one master for another. Okay, it is transactional. It is transactional. It is transactional. It is transactional. The bride price that the man pays the day of your wedding, the day you are being handed over to him into the new family, you are going to pay for that thing for the rest of your life. I think that's the horror of bride price. You're going to pay for that shit for the rest of your life. Okay, and I think it's something that we need to have discussions about. Now, I'm not the one saying let us call for an abolition of bride price, even though it will be fine, you know, stuff like that. I've heard of stories where the man is like, take your money, where the family of the girl is like, take your money, we're collecting our child. But the man is like, I don't care for your money. Oh. This is now my property. She's mine now. And it's not said with love or affection. So there's no way somebody can love you as a property. Yeah, you're just an object to them. But they say it's like a title of a deed of ownership. Yeah. I'm not taking your bride price back. I'm not taking my bride price back. Like, keep it up, giving it to you. She's now my wife. And whatever situation that woman was trying to escape from, that her family resorted to that option to set her free, she cannot. She's doomed. Okay, she's doomed. There are not enough social like bodies to enforce like stepping in of such a situation. That's why you see that when Nigerian couples go abroad, after a month, 3 months, police is being called upon the husband. The man has broken. But in Nigeria, nobody's going to call police for you. Police will come and side with the man, take it to court to throw the case out. Like you will not even get to court because it's just like, why am I saying this rubbish here? So I'm just trying to say that Onyeka is just a symptom of a larger disease that Nigerian women, are being infected with from birth, and that is the disease of being owned by the patriarchy. Yeah, yeah. Onyeka is our own symptoms present differently, yeah, but she's still she's still coming from somewhere, yeah, she's coming from somewhere. And for the Nigerian women that are, calling out, just trying to treat the symptom by advising women, other men coming up that, hey, don't let a man scam you, don't give a man money. That is not the problem. Onyeka feels her wholeness. Onyeka feels her humanness, her coming into her real selfhood could only be accomplished by getting married. Address that problem because every other Nigerian woman you come across believes in such a philosophy. That is the driving force of their existence. Not to be a career woman, not to have your dreams fulfilled. In fact, your dream is marrying a man. Okay. And now I know a lot of people like, well, not me. Well, you are different. Okay. And I know your life experiences brought you to this point. Okay. But if you were living a very ordinary life, with ordinary parents, you are going to aspire to that. That's the problem that we should address as Nigerian women in the group chat. We should talk more about how do we raise girls to not attach their being, their selfhood towards marriage, to not find it inside marriage or after marriage. Just desiring a man at all in as a Nigerian woman is doom and damnation. Okay, you are going to be some kind of Onyeka. You're not going to be scammed monetarily because some men are very ready to dump billions on your head. And you see things that they say, oh, Igbo women syndrome, like Igbo women are there. And Onyeka is Igbo, funny enough. But you see that even though she's like literally Igbo, and I'm sure at some point Abere might have said something like that, well, she might have had cousins or family members, spout such beliefs. It did not enter. It did not enter. It manifested differently. Okay. Money cannot buy your personhood. Money cannot buy your selfhood. Yeah. The actualization of yourself as a woman that is from this country called Nigeria. Yeah. Is tied to marriage, to a man. Cis heteronormative man. Cis heteronormative marriage. Yeah. And I think that is what we should take away from Onyeka, we should think to ourselves, how can we sensitize the coming generation? Because at the end of the day, it is intersectional. But you reach, even if you know reach, you poor, not the same thing. You women are being raised, girls are being raised to become women that see their actualization in marriage to a man. So, yeah, I think that is what I want to say. I think it's a good learning, like, for us as a people. Yeah, that for us as a people, because she grew up in America, she grew up in affluence, and she still had to go through the same basic thing that if you ask the Nigerian woman on the street, she's going to tell you that her husband has scammed her once or twice in her life. It has scammed her to have a child, scammed her into selling her properties so that he would do a business that ends up failing and putting them in bankruptcy. Scammed her to accept another woman's child, scammed her to leave her house that she built with him for him to go and marry a younger woman because his in-law says that he needs a boy, his in-law says that she's not good enough for them, that they've never liked her. Like, that's scamming. That's scamming. They will do it. They will do it. And that scamming is very unique to Nigerian women. Yeah. So yeah, I think we should just like, I feel like any conversation, like I appreciate conversations around, you know, this angle that I've brought forward to the collective. Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's see, like, how can we raise the next generation. I'm not saying this like, oh, I have a duty because I'm going to have children. No. Like, in our conversations with younger ladies, in our conversation with women that are going through hell in their marriages, how do you begin to tell them, things like this, that would change the foundation of their own self belief, without making them climb up and shut down. Like someone like Margina, she's being scammed and she doesn't even know it. She's living in a whole delusion. She's literally the example of what I mean, like the delusion, the Danish delusion. This one is now Nigerian delusion. Like, she's literally, the man is scamming her tooth and like scamming her for everything that she's worth. He's scamming her so bad, and it is something that you cannot put into monetary terms. It is abstract. You can't put her humanity and measure it with money, So you cannot just say, oh, it's gonna be $6,000. Oh, you pay it back. It's gonna be 250K. Oh, he'll pay you back. No, how do you get back years of your life, being spent deceiving yourself and deceiving, reinforcing the delusion that you are only a full-fledged woman with like a better reality than other women simply because you are married to a man that has not proven himself in any way. Yeah, marriage is a very, very good example of a Nigerian woman being scammed, and she's proud of it and she's boasting about it. Religious women that keep for their pastors, women that keep for their husband. Buchi, Solomon's wife, she's a Nigerian woman that has been scammed. Yeah, yep. I think this woman to Anita Joseph scammed. Yep. Nigerian. Yep. You see what Anita Joseph was doing for her husband? Yep. Her ex-husband now. Yep. Scam. What is this? What's the difference between her and Onyeka? Tell me. What's the difference between Maraja and Onyeka? What's the difference between Anita Joseph and Onyeka? What's the difference between who else? All these religious women. What's the difference between them and Onyeka? Tell me. No difference. They're just formats, shades of the same gray, different shades of gray. You're not special. Okay, and I think we need to get that in out of our brains. This whole insulting and bashing Onyeka, valid, true, right, do it, it's funny, but you are not different. Is that idea of being different that's going to land, that's going to keep perpetuating this actually insidious, invisible disease that women are infected with at death in this country? Yes, 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 yes. Regina, I feel like it is my own personal opinion that girl was sold into that marriage by her mother. Why only mother sell her own daughter? Scam, scam, scam. Regina has been scammed. Yeah, she's scammed. She's horrible. She doesn't have any sense of personal value or whatever. But if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, does not deserve to be scammed like that. But she is being scammed. There's no difference between her and Onyeka. So let us calm down with like scammed. Plenty women in this country scammed, delusional, Nigerian delusion. Anyways, subscribe to the channel. I want to hear your thoughts. I care. Thank you so much for contributing to the last video. It was fun. I had so much fun replying to comments, and I hope you keep growing, and I hope you keep hearing me out on my very funny takes. Am I funny? Yeah, I don't think I'm funny, but like at least interesting commentary. Yeah. This video has been chaotic. I'm taking care of my brother's pet, and it is so hard.